No LD SSRs, no 3-slot shells, as accessible a comp as you could ever want. This is the guide that will help you conquer this essential piece of content in Etheria Restart. Dokidoki Inferno is the most important piece of PvE content in Etheria Restart that you want to get on farm as quickly as possible. This is what is going to skyrocket your account as you're progressing into the deeper parts of the game. So it is essential you figure out how to get it done and how to farm it quickly as soon as you can. And as you can see behind me, I've got a good strategy to show you in this video. It's basically a 100% run because of RNG Restart's propensity to have random things resisted for no reason. 100% is kind of impossible. I go 10-0 sometimes. I go 8-2 sometimes. Usually it looks just like this: 9 wins, 1 loss, but it's essentially a clean, fail-proof run. You might lose a stability here and there, so be it. But this strategy, which I call Nelfoniel, is really, really powerful, and I think it could take your account to the next level and really improve your farms, or maybe unlock your first ever completion of Dokidoki at the hardest difficulty, Inferno. I do want to say, if you want a really deep dive on Dokidoki Inferno, I have a long, full video on that where I get into it and break down all the intricacies of the fight. Here, I want to keep it fairly short and sweet. We'll see how I do, and really focus in on these 2 characters and overall this very accessible comp. And as I said, this comp, on top of using Nell and using Ninfoniel, overall is just really accessible. I am not bringing any constant affinity SSRs. I'm not bringing any disorder affinity SSRs. No LDs from the SSR rarity. No Plume, no Lily. We're going to make it super easy for you by leaning on a couple SR units and then some normal RGB non-LD SSRs that are pretty dang easy to use. And all in all, this is fairly low investment. I will say we're highlighting Rilmocha, but you don't need her if you've got another option like a really good Massiah. I'm just using her because she's not LDSSR, and she's pretty freaking awesome for this, so there's no reason not to. As for the other units we're going to bring, let's hop into the fight right now and let's show it off to you. So we're going to the threshold, Dokidoki, we're going to Inferno, and let's see what we're cooking with. I have mentioned Nell and Ninfoniel, of course, there they are. I'll put myself right on top of them. And then we got Rilmocha over here. The last 2 you might have guessed are Kloss and Kazuyo the Reverie, and this comp right here is going to be your ticket to some very, very nice Dokidoki farming. Like I said, if you want a full dive into all the nitty-gritty, I have a very full guide on that for Dokidoki Inferno. However, the TLDR for this fight, the really short version, there are 2 waves. The first wave is not that hard, but you really want to blast through it in just one go. You want to have your DPS one-shot this so you can move on and make sure all your resets are perfect. If you're using things like codexes, it's just going to be a much cleaner experience. And then wave 2 is pretty hard, and there's one real big baddie in the middle. The other absolutely essential thing you need to know about this fight, this over here in the yellow, this effect, it's called Empowered Shell. I actually had to hop into battle to find that, but if you go into the battle and you look at the buffs, that's what the title is. It is going to be an effect placed on all of the enemies that you have to attack that Dokidoki is assisting and controlling, and it gives them a huge amount of damage reduction. You can see here, these enemies have additional damage reduction. However, the second part is absolutely essential. This can be temporarily removed. For 3 turns, it can be removed by inflicting control effects on them. So you can bring a lot of different guys for control. I suggest Kazuyo the Reverie because she's just awesome. She also used to be a must build for PvP. They did just nerf her a bit. She's still going to be equally viable for PvE for almost everything, but in PvE things might change a bit. So TBD if she's as good a PvE and PvP double dip as she used to be, but she's still awesome here. Otherwise, you can use other crowd control units like Nahor or Kraken or Hazuki Mari or Obel or Mio. There are a lot of options. I just think Kazuyo the Reverie is very clean, so we're bringing her for that. Then we've got Kloss over here. Excellent debuffer. She is now strictly worse for almost every single thing in the game than Plume, but some people might not have Plume. So we're bringing Kloss. We're trying to make this friendly. Now let's go to our 3 main girls. Why am I calling this the Nelfoniel comp? Frankly, it's because these two ladies are what elevated my comp from being something that could farm Inferno Dokidoki to something that quickly and consistently farms Inferno Dokidoki. And that is awesome. You know, being at 90% plus is really what you want, and they enabled it. So of course, if you have Lily, she can serve the Nell role, but if not, Nell is just as good. And arguably, for certain accounts, may be better, because if you're like me when I originally beat this, and that's all the gear I have on now, this is my old stuff, you'll see I don't have 3-slot shells. So my Rilmocha over here is not that good. And having some vulnerability out on certain waves goes a pretty long way. And the other stuff she effectively does is pretty similar. She's going to turn meter boost Rilmocha. She's going to put increased speed on everyone. She's going to operate very nicely. So she fits into that Lily role extremely well. And then Ninfoniel is just such a good damage booster with her combination of the generic increase attack and then her own personal signature AoE increase attack through her Rhyme Bloom shields, that she can really, really elevate your Rilmocha or whatever DPS you're using. And it really is as simple as that. For me, I found these two right underneath, Nell and Ninfoniel, were the duo that enabled a little bit more of a ragtag squad when it came to shells and modules, and a whole lack of skill ups, as you're going to see in one moment, to really get the job done in a really consistent way. So of course, if you have better options, bring them, but I do suggest running a comp like this. So without further ado, let's show the builds so quickly, and then let's get into the fight. So like I said, there are no 3-slot shells. My gear is good, but not that good at all. And of course, very light on the skill ups. So let's get into it. We've got Nell over here, and you'll see I'm running her at 1-3-1. I just got the 2 skill ups into the S2 over here. This was really just to pick up a little bit more turn meter. It's kind of as simple as that. For her build, we're running her in a gigabyte. You could certainly run her in a codex if you want, but I kind of want her going between the S2 and the S3, even at the start of the battle. So I'm really happy to run her in this and just get the turns cycling very quickly. Then we are running her in +12 Swift Rush and +12 Time Weave. As for the stats, a little tankiness is fine. You really want 200% effect accuracy or more. They have boosted resistance on this stage, so really you consistently will want effect accuracy over 200%. I will say if your damage is really good and you don't need the vulnerabilities that Nell puts out, you could ignore effect accuracy. Finally, speed. There are basically 2 ways to do this. It depends how slow your Rilmocha is. You could have her really fast, so she's cycling turns faster. However, you might run the risk of throwing off your speed tune if she goes before some other units and she boosts Rilmocha with her S2, and then Rilmocha cuts in front of some of the other support units. So be cognizant of that. I'm running her a little bit on the slower side. She's coming in at 233 speed. Now we've got Ninfoniel. I've got her at level 1, level 3. Some people say she's useless without her S3 at level 3. I don't think that, but she is significantly worse. So if you've got the 2 perfect lattices, Ninfoniel was just buffed for stuff too, so she's even better in PvP now. She was always dominant in PvE. There's kind of no reason not to do this, in my opinion. I think she's a phenomenal character. I think she's so helpful. Eventually, this is a skill you might want to get to level 5, and also her newly buffed S2 is a skill you might want to invest in, but frankly, this is fine. Level 3 is fine. Perfect lattices are hard to come by, and if you don't have it, you can still get away with not having it. You will just need a better build on your DPS. You'll see now if we go into modules and shells, you will see it is very, very similar. +12 Swift Rush, +12 Time Weave. The +12 Time Weave does not matter, but we were able to do it, so why not? We're trying to get her reasonably quick, but not too quick. I'll explain why in one moment. And then we want her HP very high, because that's what her shields scale off of. She's also in the gigabyte. We just want to keep those turn meters cycling, and you can see again, just the 2 slots. And I'll show you Nell as well, because I realized I didn't show that. Pretty simple stuff with our Ninfoniel. We just want to cycle through and get it done. I'm going to go very fast with Kloss and Kazuyo, really only focusing on their speed. I will say they're both in Codex of Magic, which I think is essential for this fight. If you want any chance at it going quickly, you're going to want to cycle through there. We're looking for those nice boots, the Shadow Dash. You don't need huge rolls like that, but decent rolls, because there's a pretty strict speed tune you need here. I've checked, I've really tinkered and tankered, and the speed of these enemy units on the first wave is 286. So you need your guys to be faster than that if you want to go before them. And if you want the run to be fast and you want the run to be safe, you want at least some of your allies to go before. And frankly, you really want to have them crowd controlled and out of their turn so they can't take any action. So to do that, you need to go before them. So the way we're doing that is, I told you it was 286 speed. I've got my Kloss coming in with 287 speed. She does this AoE decreased defense and decreased speed. And then my Kazuyo, who's exactly 286 speed, gets the edge. So it is a tiebreaker since she's at 286 and they're at 286. But once Kloss puts out that decreased speed, Kazuyo always gets the edge. So that's what I suggest. Or if you have better gear and you have some 3-slot shells to use, it is not very hard to get a lot faster. In that case, you know, build your Kloss at 300 and your Kazuyo at 295 or whatever you want to do. But that's the tightest you can get it, and that's actually where we got it here. For the rest of their builds, Kloss here is simply in a plus 12 Swift Rush and a plus 6 Time Weave. Again, we're looking for that 200% effect accuracy, just a little bit low. We already went over the speed. After that, any tankiness is nice. It's basically the same exact story here with Kazuyo the Reverie. She's in the Codex. She's in plus 12 Swift Rush. She's in plus 6 Time Weave. We're looking for all the same kind of stats. We did get very good effect accuracy there. I should also mention skill ups. Let's go back to Kloss. I've got her S3 at level 3. That just makes it a little safer. You can get away with not doing this if you don't want to, but I've had Kloss since 1 week into the game, and that was something I did very, very early on. Again, if you have Plume, I'm sorry, just leave your Kloss at home and bring Plume. Trust me, you won't regret it. As for Kazuyo, you definitely want the S3 at level 5. I do think the S1 is worth investing in, as is the S2 or the passive. But you can see I haven't even done that. So the only thing you have to do is the S3, though I do like the S1. I'm running here 5-1-5. And then finally, Rilmocha. And you're going to see this is not that good a DPS build. Huge overkill on the crit rate. Remember, she is strong affinity to these odd blue affinity enemies. She is green hollow affinity, so she gets an extra 30% crit rate when attacking them. However, these older modules that I was running on her here that we're going to run again today, and the lack of a 3-slot shell that has something like Fury Edge, made it really hard for me to get her to have enough crit rate without running a crit rate main stat piece. So actually, we had to do that. If you cannot do this, you'll have a lot more fun. You'll deal a lot more damage. But I do think this is like the good progression build for someone that's struggling a bit more. So we've got her in account, very nice little passive effect rolls there. We did some reconfig. Then we've got plus 8 Fury, plus 12 Momentum. I'll click through the pieces very quickly if anyone wants just wants to match this. But all in all, looking for your standard stuff. This is a fine build. It's just good enough to get it done, but it's not that special. As for skill ups, we're looking at 1-1-5. If you want to use Rilmocha, you do need her S3 at level 5. So I will say, if you've got someone like Massiah that you've already invested in and you want to use, by all means. Rilmocha is just really good at this, so I did this ages ago. However, part of me kind of regrets it. Currently, this is kind of her only purpose when you get deeper into the game. She's a bit of a one-trick pony, but she's good at the trick. You will also see she's at 180 speed. Speed is not that relevant with her. You don't want her too slow, but you also don't want her too fast, because then she'll be cutting in at weird times. Be thoughtful, test it out, figure out your speed tune, and you'll be good to go. So without further ado, the yap session is over. Let's head into battle and let's get a nice clean run. So we open up with Kloss. You can see this guy won the tiebreak this time ahead of Kazuyo, but then the decreased speed pushes her ahead. All these guys are asleep, but it is worth mentioning, and let me pause, sometimes randomly they resist Kazuyo. And that's just Etheria Restart. Welcome to the game you've chosen to play. It can be a lot of fun, but it's also randomly infuriating with so much RNG. RNG is pretty fun in PvP, also infuriating, but it is strictly infuriating in PvE, and it's just something you're going to have to deal with, because if she doesn't do that, especially on the second wave, they get those empowered shells, which I'm actually going to show you now, and they just are so tanky. So we can click here. This is, oh, did we strip them all off already? You'll see it on wave 2. But basically, that's just something to be prepared for. Now you'll see Doki's about to go. We got our Nell going. We put out the vulnerabilities. So with this wave, we're just going to absolutely wipe. Rilmocha kills the first guy and kills everyone else with the surplus. She cannot kill everyone else with the surplus if we do not have her S3 maxed out at level 5. So please be aware of that. Let's turn off the auto for 1 second so I can show you this buff. Wait, did she strip everyone? I think she already did. Let's take some quick peeks. No, but I can explain it to you though. You can see this core reconstruction. This is the 3-turn cooldown, and this comes on after I've stripped off the empowered shell. So if they had that empowered shell, they'd be resisting everything. But you can see we did get the CC on everyone, so we did strip it off everywhere. We can throw this back. I like to always focus in on this middle unit. Now we go in with Rilmocha. Like I said, this is not the best DPS build, so very often we don't get the kill, but it's A-okay. We're already in great position to finish off the rest of the run. If you can get that kill, you 100% can 3-star this. You saw that I have 3-starred this, so when I get my Rilmocha in slightly better gear, I farm this in about 50-something seconds, but this version's fine. It's a minute and a half passive farming. You're going to be good to go. There you have it. We actually came in at 59 seconds there. That was a nice clean one. So maybe my faster runs are closer to 45 or 50 seconds. I want to show you the run just one more time because I know it happens pretty fast, but you kind of get it, right? We just have a lot of support. Rilmocha is just good enough. She could be better, and I hope yours is if you're able to do it. Otherwise, it still works. And that's basically the beauty of Nelfoniel. We're getting a lot of debuffing, a lot of support, and a lot of boosting for Rilmocha. And then we're just getting so much support and buffing from Ninfoniel. And Ninfoniel is actually better than ever because her recent buff allows her to cleanse 1 debuff with her S2, 2 of them if you skill it up. And that leads her to cleansing some stuns. Stuns are the only other thing besides those random resists that can throw your run off. That's why it does fail once in a while. You know, if somehow Rilmocha keeps getting stunned, or I guess a third thing would be you never know who they're going to target. It is random. So if they just all decide in the same round to all target Rilmocha and she dies, the run will fall apart. But unless something crazy happens, the run works every time. So let's watch it once more. Let's actually turn off the auto here. And now I can show you exactly what this looks like. So here is the empowered shell. Reduces damage taken by 90%. You need to strip this off, so you need crowd control. And it can only be removed, as they state, by those crowd control effects. So something like a slumber or a stun or a freeze. And then they will only regain this after 2 turns. So it's off, and then they wait another 2 turns. So it kind of feels like 3 turns, and then they get it back. So you need some consistent crowd control, but especially with this first wave, and even the second wave, if you've got really good damage, they're never going to get it back because you're going to kill them so fast. So that's the key thing we had to show you here. That's going to be our Kazuyo. She does put everyone to sleep, so you can see it all gets stripped off. So now when Rilmocha comes in to deal the damage, we're good to go. Those guys can't take any action because they're asleep. We timed it out perfectly. Also worth mentioning, when Ninfoniel goes, she does a non-damage dealing, non-contact skill. She puts out her Rhyme Bloom. She puts out the shield, the increased attack. She doesn't hit anyone. She can't wake anyone up. She actually does that again with her S2 later. And then here's going to be our Rilmocha. She comes in, deletes this guy, pops the rest. You get that 100% surplus damage. Now we get the Codex, so we get the S3 again from both Kloss and Kazuyo. There's the S2 from Ninfoniel. She hasn't hit anyone. It's non-contact. And then we get almost the kill once again. And it's pretty dang smooth. So this is how it looks at least 80% of the time. And I'd say the other 20% of that 20%, half of it we probably, or maybe even more, we still win. And the other half is when, or maybe even less than half, is when some stupid RNG stuff happens. Like there you can just see, like, they just had been targeting Nell, excuse me, and she got stunned. If that had been Rilmocha, the run would be over. But it wasn't, and there you go, 1 minute and 4 seconds. It's fast enough that I think we should just watch one more together. I'm gonna actually turn my camera off and shut up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll join you at the end to say goodbye. But here you go, 3rd and final run without any dude in the corner yapping. All right, there you have it. I'm actually glad you guys got to see that. So that was one of the longer versions of this run, and it basically just comes down to we missed a debuff with Kloss, so the damage was less. Kloss swings and misses a lot. That's a perfect example of why Plume is really, really superior for a lot of stuff, especially consistent farming. But even when that thing went awry, we still got it. This run really is over 90%, so I do suggest you try my Nelfoniel strategy because it really does work very nicely. The very last thing I want to say as we sign off is let's do an actual auto battle here where I'm not controlling it. I really suggest you do these settings, right? So if you go here, you can turn on your auto attack order settings. For the first wave, doesn't really matter. I like to target an Andrew. I target the one on the left. But for wave 2, definitely target the Elite Valor. It's going to lead to a lot less RNG moments because he's the one that can randomly kill people. So taking him out first, in my opinion, is just a lot better. I found a lot more success with this. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, please do subscribe to the channel. Slowly but surely, we're getting towards 2,000 subscribers, which would be so cool. I would be so excited. And also, if you're not yet playing Etheria, or maybe you were playing, but then you took time away from the game and you just need to download it, please use my link in the description in the top pinned comment. That would mean a lot. I've been Fastidious. You can call me Fasti. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.